Thanks to Best Buy for sponsoring this video. The Tesla Model Y has quickly become Tesla's most popular car and also one of the best-selling cars just in general in the entire market. And there's a reason for that. This is a very good car. And recently I was able to spend about 2 weeks with a long-range Model Y, driving it every day, really putting it to the test, and my opinions have changed a little bit. There are things that are excellent about the car, and then there are some things that maybe make it not worth it. So I've had a lot of experiences with the Model Y over the years. I was lucky enough to go to the launch of the Model Y and drive in the test vehicle that was pre-production. I also created a video for the Jon Rettinger channel reviewing the Model Y. We did some work with Tesla and I was able to take it on a road trip from LA to San Francisco and back. And that was relatively new into the production of the Model Y. And then now, over a year later, I was able to spend a lot of time with the updated Model Y. I currently drive a 2019 Tesla Model 3, so it's a very similar spec, just the older version. And I also leased that, which is going back in May of 2022. So, I mean, I was under the assumption, I was always under the impression, when that car goes back, I'm going to get a Model Y, probably the same spec, maybe a performance, but I was gonna get a Model Y because it seemed like the perfect car for me. But now that I've spent a lot of time with the Model Y, especially this newer version, and here at the end of 2021, going into 2022, I'm not exactly sure this is the right move to make, at least right now. And at the end, I'll tell you the main reason why I'm not sure I'm gonna be buying this car. But first, let's talk about some of the great things about this car. I think for a lot of people, when they're shopping Tesla, if they don't have a car in mind already, they end up deciding between Model 3 and Model Y because they're very similar cars in most ways. But obviously you want to know, like, do I want to drive an SUV or a crossover, or do I want a sedan? And for a lot of people, that is a decision they have to make. For me, on the other hand, that decision has pretty much been solidified that the Model Y is by far the way to go if you're cross-shopping both the 3 and the Y. When you look at traditional non-EV cars, I think the biggest reason not to get an SUV or a crossover is for the general performance. Yes, it's great to have all the storage and the hatch and all that kind of stuff is awesome, but then you drive it and it's an uninspiring experience for most cars. Whereas you get in the sedan version of the crossover and it's a much better experience. Yeah, you don't have all the storage and space, but the driving experience is much better. And for someone like me who loves cars and loves driving, that's important to me. But with an EV, it is different. After driving the Model Y, the long range, not the performance, this car performs obviously a little bit worse than my Model 3, but it's not so much worse that I think it's worth losing out on all the storage space and the better access to the back of the car that you get with the Y. I took the Y on some back roads and pushed it pretty hard, and yes, you get some body roll, you get some lean, but overall, it is an excellent performing car. It is very fast, doesn't really feel that much slower than my Model 3, and overall, when it comes to performance, you're very close, both the sedan and the crossover. So in my mind, it's better just to get the extra space, get the extra convenience of having the hatch, and you also get the extra interior room. It's just an overall better experience with the Y, even when it comes down to things like driving. Like I said, that's pretty much why I instantly knew I was going to get the Model Y as my next car. Now granted, there are some people who just prefer sedans, but I think with an EV like this, I think it's just a little bit of a different argument because the cars are so similar that it's almost worth having the extra space just for those off times when you might need it, even if it's not all the time. You can carry people more easily, it's easier to get things in, it's just an overall better experience. And I think that definitely makes the Model Y worth it. It's its strongest point, especially comparing to the rest of the line. The price to room to performance is all really great there. Okay, real quick before we continue, I want to thank this video's sponsor, Best Buy. I'm sure you've heard of Best Buy, but they are one of the best places to buy the tech that you are looking for. And not only that, they also have some excellent deals on many of the top brands and different manufacturers for those products. And one of the best ways to find those deals is through their top deals section. So in here, every single week, you get refreshed deals from many different products, from laptops and computers, TVs, phones, gaming accessories. I mean, really anything you can think of, there will be some kind of product here that you can save some money on. And especially now, during the holidays, you're looking for gifts to buy, or maybe you want to recommend some gifts that people can buy you. This is a great way to point them or for you to get them yourselves and just save some money. So if you do want to check these out, be sure to visit the link down below in the description. It'll take you over to the top deal section on Best Buy, and you can find some of these products and save some money. Aside from the raw performance, the 0 to 60, the going around corners, this car drives extremely well. It's very comfortable. I did actually notice the upgraded glass seems to make the cabin a little quieter, although it's not quite as quiet as a lot of other cars, especially in this price range. And I like that you're sitting up higher, it just makes driving a little easier. And this is overall just a really relaxing car to drive. And that's kind of my favorite thing about EVs is you can punch it and you can have fun in the corners, but if you don't want to, this is about as easy of a car to drive as you can get, and the Model Y is no different than really any other Tesla. The tech in this car is also still one of my favorites. I think the infotainment system is still one of the best that you get in the industry. It's smooth, it's fast, all the things that you would hope for from like a tablet experience you get in the car. I'm still shocked by how many cars you get in these days that just don't perform that well when it comes to the infotainment screen. Tesla has nailed it, and it just keeps getting better with each refinement. I think this is one of the best parts of this car. Now, yes, you might be worried about not having a gauge cluster behind the wheel or having to do everything on the screen, but having driven a car with this setup for years now, you get used to it within the first week, and I think once you learn where all the buttons are, it's very easy and pretty intuitive. So all of that is great, and it's pretty much the reasons why I was going to buy a Model Y with not much thought. This car is exactly what I was looking for in terms of performance and drive and space. It's almost perfect there. But then we get to some of the more details, and that's where I start to have some second thoughts. So this is an issue that I'm sure will get fixed relatively quickly, but it is an issue, and I even notice it now in my Model 3, and that's Tesla Vision. So these cars no longer ship with radar, so it is using the cameras to detect the world around it, which is very cool technology. Like I said, I'm using this in my Tesla Model 3 with the full self-driving beta. Once you enter into that program, it now uses vision instead of the radar that is built into my car because it's a little older, and I've experienced it a lot, and I have the same issues in my car that I did in the Model Y. And really the big one is phantom braking. I'm not the only one who had issues with this. You can look up article after article talking about it, but the Tesla Vision system is just not quite ready, and it's not nearly as good as the radar system that was before it. Basically, the simple way to explain it is, say you're going down the highway, you're using Tesla Autopilot, and nothing's happening, everything's pretty calm and normal, and then all of a sudden the car just slams the brakes, and you start to freak out, you take over because you're wondering what happened, but nothing happened. The car just thought something was in front of it for whatever reason. The Tesla Vision system just didn't get it right, so it slammed the brakes. That happens a lot in the new Model Y using Tesla Vision. Now, again, I'm sure this is going to get ironed out relatively quickly because there's plenty of people complaining about it, but Tesla made the move from radar to Tesla Vision super quickly. Like, they announced it one day and the next day they were not producing cars with radar anymore. And I'm not exactly sure why. Like, it seems like it would be better to keep the radar system in there just in case you needed to fall back on it for whatever reason. Like, with all their full self-driving development, maybe there was a point in time where they would decide, you know, radar would actually be helpful in these certain situations. But no, your car just doesn't have it now, so you're out of luck. But again, I know this will probably get ironed out, but it's definitely something I noticed on pretty much every single drive using autopilot. Phantom braking is a real issue, and it makes using autopilot a lot less enjoyable. You can never really count on the Tesla that you want staying the price it is currently for very long. It seems to change on a weekly basis. And this is one of my biggest hurdles when thinking about buying a Model Y. Now, granted, there are a lot of externalities that Tesla isn't in control of that are probably leading to a lot of these price adjustments. Supply issues, chip shortages, all these things obviously have an effect, not just for Tesla, but for the entire markets of not only cars, but literally everything. So there's obviously going to be some changes that need to happen for Tesla to, you know, continue to be functional. But because the price is so volatile right now, I'm not exactly sure when the best time to buy. Now, of course, with everything, not just cars, but tech or anything really that you're looking to buy, if you need something and you want it, then go buy it at that time. There's no better time than now. But if you're planning to get something like I am, I don't need a car until mid-2022, I'm not sure when the best time to buy is. Theoretically, the prices could go down in the next few months, or they could continue raising. I mean, there's so many different ways it could go that it's really impossible to plan when you should buy the next car. And that for me ties into the next thing, which is just timing. You can't really buy a Model Y right now. So if I wanted to replace my Model 3 with a Model Y, I would have to order it today at the end of 2021 in order to get it all the way in May of 2022. That is a long time to wait for a car. And, you know, in a world where there's no other EVs or no other compelling vehicles, then that's an easy time to wait. But there's a lot of competition on the horizon, a lot of different cars that may be worth it. And I think all those factors make it a little harder to just instantly choose the Model Y when there's a lot of other cars that you could be considering. Not to mention those supply constraints causing issues like not shipping USB-C or wireless charging without telling anyone, or removing lumbar support from the passenger seat, and apparently that's not coming back. It seems Tesla is really trying to pump these cars out as fast as possible, and they're really letting nothing get in the way of that, and that includes increasing the price and also taking away some features without even telling you, and I don't know if that's such a good look. That is really the main hesitation with the Model Y right now. Do you buy one? Do you not buy one? When should you buy one? What price should you try to get at? There's just so many factors aside from the car itself. Because for most things, even with the Tesla Vision issues that are intermittent there, the car is excellent. It's still one of my favorite cars out there, and I still definitely want one, but actually buying one is where I start to have some issues. That being said, I still think if you're looking for an EV going into 2022, there's still many reasons why the Model Y is the best option to choose. All the things I mentioned, like the extra space, the performance, all of that is excellent. But also you get things like the supercharging network, which I just went on a 2,000-mile road trip with my Model 3 and not really having to think about charging because I know I just pull up to a supercharger and plug in and that's it. That is such a relief compared to a lot of other EV networks out there. You also get all the excellent software update, which can bring some really amazing features to your car. And of course, it's an EV, so you don't have to pay for gas anymore, especially with these skyrocketing prices. I mean, there's a ton of reasons why this is still probably the best Tesla you should buy, and you should buy it. It's just not quite as easy as it used to be before.